Troy, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today's date, you're in tune to Ron March Show. Today's date is September 29. September 29. One more day left in this month. And we will be off to a new month, October, the 10th month. And before you know it, we'll be into the holidays, spirit holidays, and into a new year. We got a good show today. We have a date deadline coming up this weekend, which will be a seminar follow-up on the Jonah Bay weekend extravaganza. I've received a lot of phone calls, as I always have, and which says, where do we go from here? So what we announced in the at the seminar, that we would have a follow-up, and we're having a follow-up this Sunday from 9 to 12 p.m., 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it will be at the regular place on 7 Mile, 18846, 18846 West 7 Mile. That's on the corner of Stahalan, at Stahalan. Okay? Between the two major streets, Southfield Expressway and Evergreen Road. I think they call it the Evergreen Road. Yes. And what we're going to do is deal with specifically what did you get out of it, and what can we do at this time to answer questions from the seminar and project some new projects and programs that we're going to go into. We want to keep this group together. The seminar group, we want to build from that. We want to set up what they call a confederation. The A&R man, what you call it, Wally B? Think tank. Well, we can put a think tank in, yes, because everybody has a lot of creative ideas on what to do and what not to do. And the bottom line is we need to synchronize our thoughts and processes so that we can move in the same direction. We don't have to move on the same plane and get the same info, because everyone has a life to live. No one's life is the same. And that's why we want to have this follow-up, because I know one of the biggest, not confusion, but the biggest questions that I receive is about the do not detain list, or the injunction. And we want to make sure you understand what it's about. The biggest problem in teaching, as far as Ron March is concerned, is, do you have an understanding of what you're receiving? No one is right, no one is correct. We can only give you guidelines for educational purposes only. That's why we say that, educational purposes only. We cannot give you a blueprint, to freedom. I've never heard of one. Even if you go to war, it does not set up a blueprint to freedom, because you got to win the war. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts about a war that you don't know of or don't know about when you go into it. So we want to take this weekend and discuss what was taught on that August 21, 22, and 23 weekend when Jonah Bay was in town. Understand, and I'll say it now, that everyone that teach, everyone, I don't care who it is, as Bobby L., who turned it around and put him in a mode of freedom, in my opinion. We got Jonah Bay, we got Yusuf, we got Khalif. On the East Coast, we got Taj. Everybody has knowledge, understanding, and wisdom as to how to get free. The only thing that's going to set you free is your mindset. I would like for you to take all of these individuals and all of your paperwork and all of your DVDs, all of your CDs that you have. Formulate your own process to freedom. Because nobody's going to get free from that but you. What you pick up along the way is what someone taught you. You can stay with that as long as you like. In order to be free, you are going to have to set yourself free. I don't know how to say it any further. Your spirit has to be free. So when you hear us talking about paperwork, I got goo gobs of documents, probably on every set or idea you can think of. I have a document for it. I don't use them because they don't feel comfortable for me to use them. Several of them I do not understand. I'm talking about thousands of them. I'm not talking about 100. I'm talking, I got a CD loaded. I have a CD that's loaded with documents. It's got a search program with it that will give you documents that are related to what your situation is. But none of them can be used verbatim. None of them can be used verbatim. You need to read them. You need to know what you're doing. And then you find one close to your situation, and then you twix it to fit your situation, which makes it a new document. Jonah talks about that quite a bit. Don't say Jonah did it. Don't copy my stuff word for word, sentence for sentence, paragraph. It's got to be set up this way. It's got to, oh yeah, Jonah said, Ron said, Yusuf said. Oh, you'll never be free with that. Because it's too easy to pique you to know you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because you can only go as far as what Ron said, what Jonah said, what Yusuf said. You need to find out what do you say and stand by it. Common law is what we're talking about. We're not talking about supreme law. We're not talking about the documents, Article 6. Article 6 of the original Constitution says all treaties, contracts that were set up prior to signing the Constitution is the law of the land, not the Constitution. I'll take it a step further. What your mind, your body, and your soul believes is the law of the land is the law of the land. That's why they say there's only two crimes you can commit before your Creator. Only two. Murder, which would include suicide, murder, and destroying someone's property. Someone else. Now that covers everything you need to know about common law. The authority of the courts in the United States comes from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court was only founded in 1789. That's why they taught you that you were brought over on slave ships prior to the founding of United States of America. I bet you right now can't even fix in your mind the timetable of slaves, the quote unquote slaves that they claim that came into the United States. The actual arrival of the slaves, the Constitution, the Supreme Court. You can't even set up a timetable in your head. You probably never thought about it the way I'm trying to give it to you, as to what was, what ain't, and what is. You probably never thought about it because it never came to you, and you never had a reason to think about it until you begin to search for freedom. That's why that Article 6 is so important of the Constitution. We were here on this continent prior to that other punk that showed up, Christopher Columbus. We was here before he was. And surely we was here before the 13 colonies. That's why they fed you, every blackie in America has been taught that he came over here on a slave ship. Every one of them. And you will have to fight the majority of them, but the ones that know better are good agents to the system. They teach and turn in slaves that cause problems and tell the truth. It's a mean process. That's all I can tell you. It's a mean process. And I am highly fortunate. It's been a wonderful year for me. I have learned so much, have experienced so much, have intercourse so much, have knew KNEW so much. That all of my knowledge and wisdom rises to a higher level, a bigger plane because of it. So as soon as I learn and teach, I relearn and reteach myself. I don't know it all, never did claim I did. Don't want to know it all until I'm ready to know it. And then I will never, ever know it all. That puts you on a plane that most of us are not even ready for. But that's my decision. I don't want to know everything. I want to be taught and released to me what is relevant to me. So what we're going to do this weekend, we're going to talk about the seminar. We have our people in place. You have to go online as you did before. It's a $20 donation, building fund. I'm going to call it a building fund. We got to pay for the building. A building fund. And what we're going to do is start out. Let me see if our members are on the line. Betty Taylor, are you there?
I am.
Sister and Brother Andre, are you out there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. If y'all on time. I was just bringing it. And we're gonna discuss, rediscuss all of the situations. Betty, you're gonna start out, and you're gonna talk about what will you discuss.
I'll be discussing the asking questions for anyone, answering questions for anyone who asks questions about that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Nope.
Okay.
I can hear you all right. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, well, I took the headsets off. I'm just going to be going over the birth certificate authentication process and the discharge process. For anybody who has any questions, those people who are not clear as to, what to do next, where to go and those things, so forth.
Wow. You're breaking up, man. How do I?
I'm sorry, Ron. What did you say? There's a lot of static or something going on. I can't hear you.
Yeah. So in other words, Andre, how do you hear me? What are you going to discuss, Andre?
Well, first of all, I can hear both of you just fine. Brian, you going in and out at times, but I can hear both of y'all fine. But getting back to the seminar, I'm going to be going over the injunction with everyone. I'll be going over different elements and things that people need to study and put into their injunction.
Okay. So that puts me between the two, right? I come on
What's
after
that?
Betty because I'm going to discuss the Constitution of Michigan, and it is reflected with and in the injunction.
Right, exactly.
So, okay, all right.
Exactly.
So Betty,
I didn't hear
did
the
you?
question. You asked me something. I didn't hear your. You asked me a question a few seconds ago. What I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I was asking you what were you going to discuss and take questions on, and I did hear you say you were going to do it on the injunction. And so I said
absolutely.
that I'm going to be between you and Betty on and discuss the Michigan Constitution.
I think that works. I think that'll work good because that'll be a good segue into the injunction. For you to talk about that, that'll lead that'll lead perfectly into the injunction and how we need to think about how we're going to craft it. Because one thing that I've learned from you and from Jonah is that this is a personal thing. You have to tailor it toward your lifestyle and what you're doing and how you're going to be operating. So you can't simply buy a template and just plug in stuff. You have to really study. You have to study like I did. You have to go through all the constitutions. And, it took me a while to get an understanding, of what I was looking at. But then to apply that to your injunction, that's a whole nother thing. So.
Yes. Okay. All right. And Betty, you're going to deal with two subjects, which will be the birth certificate and discharging debt.
Yeah, because you really can't. The discharge of the debt is, a person can do that, but it works better from what I hear, from different individuals who have done it. It works better if your birth certificate is authenticated. It's a cleaner process.
Okay. So then it looks like we're going to spend most of our time explaining or at least getting the information out on the birth certificate. That is very, very, very important.
Oh, for sure. And they got to really understand, to authenticate the birth certificate, but they don't know the significance of doing that and, how important it is to do that for themselves and for their family.
Okay. All right. Well, I heard again today that they are in Michigan. They are creating conflict on receiving your birth certificate. They are asking personal questions about your birth certificate, and if you don't have the answer, they kind of get rid of you.
Ron, that was what I went through when I did it online. When I authenticated mine, they went way back. I'm talking like they asked me some stuff from like 10, 12 years ago.
Wow.
And that was online.
Damn.
So they actually.
So what kind of things are they? What are the things that people are coming up against? Because I'm not clear as to what they're doing. How they? I know that I heard that they were trying to stop it, but what are the things that they're saying is happening? Do you know?
Well, one of the things is they ask you, was your mother and father married? That's what I heard today. Specifically asked, were they married at the time of birth? Now, if you know it, it means one thing, but if you don't know, or they were not, or the paperwork showed that they were not, they'll tell you that the birth certificate is not there. You have to check with Lansing. And then when you call Lansing and tell them that, they say you have to check with 640 Temple. So you caught between the rock and the hard.
They're giving them a runner. They're giving a runaround. I do know that after I want to say 1970 something, that if you were married, if you were not married, that your child's birth certificate was up in Lansing, because I had that situation with my oldest child. I had to go there and get his birth certificate from there. And it was on a different type of thing. What they gave me, it was like on a microfilm paper.
Oh.
You know, like yeah, it was different. That was years ago though. But I do know that, you know, if they were not married, you had to go to Lansing. So I don't know what this is about 640 Temple. And that was back, and he was born in 77. And I think I was like, it was like, maybe he was like 10 when I tried to get it. And I had to go all the way up to Lansing to get it. And they didn't have it down here at all.
All right. Well, I was told that there's a cutoff date, a year. If you were born after this cutoff date, your paperwork would be in before this cutoff date, your paperwork would be in Lansing. If you were born after, it would be at 640 Temple. I went to 640 Temple because Herman Keither shut down and everything was moved.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wasn't born in Michigan, and I didn't have that type of problem, but I did have some real nasty flack over in Indiana. When I went over there to get my birth certificate and all that paperwork, I really caught hell. But I got it, but I caught hell. So I'm telling you, I guess I'm telling everyone, if you don't have it, you better hurry up and try to get it before they come up with some mess that's not going to be beneficial to you. Yep.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Because when everybody starts doing it, that's when the laws change and that's when processes change. So
yep.
It will behoove anyone who hasn't done it to get on it.
I was sent an email today, and I had a discussion online with a client or cousin. He told me to read the number 5 steps. Betty, I have a copy of it, and I gave you a copy of what happens in Michigan, and we're talking about Act 333. It's called the Public Health Code. 333.2825, and it's titled Assuming Custody of Live-Born Child of Unknown Parentage. The forms, the contents, and filing of the report, place of birth, report as birth registration, and sealing, and last but not least, opening of report. So I went to it and went down to number 5. If you guys can do that and go to number 5, it says this. If the child is identified and a birth registration is found or obtained, a report registered under this section shall be sealed and may be opened only by order of a court of competent jurisdiction or as provided by rule. Well, he broke that down to me as saying that when you obtain the first part of the sentence says, if the child is identified and birth registration is found or obtained, that means if you have authenticated your birth certificate.
Yeah.
Okay. The report registered under this section shall be sealed. So the original one that they claim they have as a secured interest, or the one that they never give you of the ink signature that you don't have, it must be sealed and may be opened only by order of a court or competent jurisdiction or as provided by rule. So I added to this and said, well, this means that they can't use it because once you authenticate it, the one that they have becomes null and void. And they have, if you want to get it open or get the original, which would be the one with the ink signature, you have to get a court order to do it. And that brings on a lot of more information, as we discussed on the internet today, where he was, and I interjected, Betty, I've always said this, that secured interest piece that they always slam on you. This is a secured. Your live birth with the ink signature is the secured interest of your birth certificate. Yeah, so you'll never see it. You never see it. Now, if you take that same process and the same title that I'm going to call it, the secured interest, and put it with a mortgage and or an automobile or even credit cards, they do the same identical thing. They hide or steal, sell the ink signature copy of your transaction.
Wow.
And by you authenticating it, it makes it the original because there's no double signature on any process you ever do in the United States. Is never a legal contract.
Mm-hmm.
Except,
That's right.
Except I got a new one, Betty. Except marriage, a lease. When you lease apartment, you get 2 signatures. Marriage, you get 2 signatures. And last but not least, listen to this: your warrant, your deed. And remember what it taught us, Betty. Your deed cannot be broken. That chain of title can never be broken.
Right.
So it has to come from a live person with 2 signatures on it. So you know they hide that right away, and that's where the biggest problem we're having in Detroit of stealing these homes. So once you get it authenticated, that means that you are of majority age. And they took what belonged to you, and the law says they can't take it because everything you've done up to your birth certificate, listen, this gonna knock your socks off. Everything you've done up to the birth certificate authentication, you were an infant.
Yes.
That's heavy.
That was clear to me about 5 months ago.
And the light just came on for me because I know what you're really saying. That's heavy.
I mean, because for years I wondered how in the world are all the melanated people on the planet? How are we considered minorities? I don't understand it. I never understood that. And so when I read Rule 220, that's when it became clear to me.
Yes. That's unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah.
So you're not responsible. Even listen to this. You have never signed any document under what does the ruling say, Betty? A contract has to be signed with I'm going to say clear understanding, but it's got better wording than that.
Oh, you got to have a meeting of the minds. You got to have meeting of the minds.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So whatever you sign as a straw man, you have never had meeting of the mind because you was an infant.
Wow.
So the brother told me you should work with a sucker, and I laughed and said you ought to ride in on a big wheel.
Wow.
Right in there on a big wheel with a lollipop. Yeah, the big one. Yeah, the big one.
And one of them hats with a propeller. And get one of them hats with the propeller on the top. Spin that baby around.
Yeah. It's fraud. It's fraud. So when you get it done, you can claim everything that happened to you prior to the birth certificate. It blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. And he gave me some Michigan laws that support what he said. Woo! I said, brother, where in the hell you get this shit from? So he went on and showed me he got it from Kentucky, and then he said when he read the Kentucky one, it dawned on him he was from Michigan, and he looked at Michigan, and the same thing was over here in Michigan. And that's what keeps us in debt, and that is
you there, Ron? Did we lose him?
Well, maybe.
Can everybody hear me? Or did I get
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yep.
Oh, okay. So all I was saying was everything you've done up to your authentication, you were an infant. So you can claim every damage that was done to you because you did not sign with a meeting of the minds. They knew it. That's why they took it. And you can't be angry because what they did was legal. This is what hurts me. because you were an infant and they had to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
You get that, Andre? They had to protect you, and they did it for your best interest. And when they told you you owe, you had to pay because you were a infant and you needed adult guidance. I guess you could say that.
Wow. But why would they even expect an infant to pay for stuff that they're not contracted to, that's not valid? You know what I'm saying? I heard what you just said, but you know, to me that's like talking out of both sides of your neck, because you tell me I got to pay, but you also know I'm in the infant position, and you know that it's not valid. So you know, and you know they know. You know, I mean that just goes to show you how this thing was so orchestrated and just you know, just so unbelievable as to what they've done.
They didn't create when you were an infant. It was needed. Clothing, automobile, housing, and it's their job for you to have those things so that you can live. So to take what you just said, I'll just turn it around and say to you, well, if you're an infant, either I take care of you or I throw you out in the wilderness to die. I chose to take care of you out of the goodness of my heart. It ain't my fault that you're 80 years old and still don't know that you're an adult.
Yeah, I understand.
And it's not my business. And you know what the judges say? I'm not here to teach you law. You need to get an attorney. If you have a question like that, you should have came to court with an attorney. So if you see what I'm saying? So if you feel that way, and then you got to look at it the way it is. So you bought food, you bought a house, you bought a car, you bought a shotgun, you bought clothing, you bought diamonds. You know, I'm just giving you some things that you do in life, and you can have that because you need it in order to live your lifestyle. Now, if you got you an infant. So I can sympathize with you, but that's as far as I can go. The law is going to protect them, so you can't be angry at them. You can't be angry at them. You need to be more. Don't be vindictive to them. You need to be more legal. Yes, a lawful, and everything will come to you. Because
I got a question.
Yes.
So those members that are sitting up in Congress, the people that have melanated skin, do you think they're part of the majority?
No. And I think only ones like Conyers, and he probably has a little bit of it. Dingle, a little bit of it. They don't get all of it, a little bit. I think they were given a little knowledge of. Remember how the secret orders operate. You're only given information up to the level of your degree.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go beyond that. So I'm sure that there is a secret order among the elected officials. And all those rookies, for example, that blackie that came out of that's the only one I can think of. Excuse me. That blackie that came out of Minnesota who was a Muslim.
Yeah.
He only been there one term or maybe two terms. I'm sure he's not aware of any of this. None of it.
Yeah.
Now, if he can get, and that's another reason why they were breaking up black people and they were moving black people around, because due to gerrymandering, keeping blacks poor and in bad places, it gave longevity to those elected officials that came out of that era. Conyers is one of them. There'll never be another John Conyers by seniority in Washington.
Right.
Because what they just made the gigantic move on him to switch him to a partially white district, and he was smart enough to flip back and gave it to Peters. And Peters won hands down, and he won hands down because they traded districts. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I wasn't aware of that.
Peters was a Michigan congressman that ran.
Yeah,
and he
that's
ran
Gary
against the
Peters,
black.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, again.
Gary Peters.
Yes. And he was in a black district, and they gerrymandered his district and made it not lily white, but white. And they made the other one that Conyers was in. Conyers was in a position to lose because they had the black female that came out of the election commission downtown. She was supposed to run in his position. And so they thought they could force him to resign. But he got with Peters and taught him something, which could be from the secret or ain't no telling what he told Connie. Peters agreed, and they switched because all they had to do was register in a particular district, and that's all they did because of the gerrymandering. You know what gerrymandering is. And so when they did that,
I remember. I know the name. Yeah.
Yep. So when they switched, it set it up. They won by landslide in each of the districts. You dig? So.
Wow. Ron, you there? Andre?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I haven't moved.
You keep fading in and out though.
Yeah. I don't know. I got Wally sitting right here, and we moved the microphone. Now, how about that? Is that better?
Yes, that is better.
That is better?
Yes,
okay.
it is.
I'm talking down on the mic now rather than in the side of it, so I don't really know. I have that same problem with Beverly D, and I don't even move most of the time, and it just goes in and out, and we haven't figured out why that is. But anyway, I'm just running that by you, and so that what they do, they try to break up the black people where they live. So now, with Harlem being white now, I guess you know that.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt Dingle. I don't mean Diggs. Dingle. See, when Dingle runs for re-election, some whites going to get together and run his ass out of there.
I thought Dingle.
And if they get another,
you talking about Dingle? You keep saying
up
Dingle.
In New York.
There's
Whoever's
another Dingle?
in New York. Rango.
Okay, because Dingle was Dingle was down here down in we call it down the river. Yeah.
Yep, Wyandotte.
Yeah. And he retired. He retired, and his wife stepped in and took his seat.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I was really talking about the black congressman, Rango.
Oh yeah. Okay.
See, Rango. That's the seat that Adam Clayton Powell had for a long time, and he set it up with his black church and all the black folks out of Harlem. So they had to do something, and the Democrats was in so long that the Republicans couldn't gerrymander. Whoever's in office has the power to gerrymander. And so they had to wait. So now that the Republicans is in most of the offices and running most of the houses, they are doing some serious gerrymandering. So that's why I say it'll be a long time before there'll be another Diggs from the.
We lost you.
I have not moved. I don't know what it's about. Am I still out?
No, you're
Can
in
you
now.
hear me now?
But they yeah. But they try to mess with you. You know they listening.
Yeah, I know. And we should all be educated to that gerrymandering, because they do it every time they switch. And you know Michigan is so screwed up with Republicans. That was the first thing they did was gerrymander the state to get rid of a lot of solid black districts, so they could get blackies out. The Democratic power. Yep.
Can I change the subject for a minute?
Yes.
What do you think about the situation with the Pope and the Speaker of the House resigning?
I personally think it was directly related to the Pope. Directly related. And since he was the top dog of the Senate, you know, that seat is outside of the president. That seat that he held was the most powerful seat in the United States. The
Right.
Speaker of the House is the third one in order to be president.
Right.
You dig? Now,
Mhm.
I believe that the letter that was circulating, the notice to enforcement agencies that was circulating, it was set up to Pope know what they thought of his what they call a Roman Curie. Those are the ones that appoints and sets up this thing. They are the ones that started the corporations.
Right.
So by him resigning, now the only thing that I think we should do, and Andre, if you got your computer set up, try to find out if John Boehner was an attorney. If he was not an attorney, that would seal to me that the Pope told him to get to getting. Because if he gave up his P number, he could stay in Washington, just like Obama and them did, because they would not be traitors because they gave up their titles of nobility.
Yeah.
You dig? So I'm thinking that if that be the case, because why not? Because white folks don't resign from power. History has shown, to my knowledge, they have never.
I'm sorry, the dog was barking. Ron, you left us again.
Wow. What about now? Am I
Yep,
back?
I can hear you. Yep.
I think we better look for another microphone, maybe.
I think so too.
I don't know. Because I get that all the time, and we got a couple of mics around here, so we might as well try it to see later. Okay. Yep. But now, Betty, there's more to it than just that, because now the Jade Helm. Do you know about Jade Helm? Jade. You need to look that up. Jade, one word, HELM, two words, 15. It was a secret army. JADE.
Okay, I got it.
All right. It was a secret army that revealed itself approximately a year ago.
You left us again.
Yep, I got to find Andre. He claims to be muted out, but I don't see him. Yep. Okay, good. All right, let me see where Andre is. Here we go. Yep, all right. There we go.
Hey.
Andre, you
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about.
My call dropped and I called back in and I was trying to text you, but yeah, do you want me to explain the Jade Helm thing?
Yes, that'd be good. But I've been running my mouth so much. Yeah, run that.
Basically, what the Jade Helm initiative is this all has to do with, and I'm gonna try to be as brief as I can with explaining. I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as I can. It goes back to what we talked about when we first met over the phone, Ryan, when we were talking about how they were gonna crash the system, they were gonna crash the dollar, and they were. It all goes back to that. Well, of course, when that happens, there's going to be a civil response. So in order to deal with the civil response, there's been precautions put in place, meaning this army, where basically what happens is they take over. It's martial law steroids. And what they're doing is training to deal with civil unrest. So, the Jade Helm Initiative has been going on in a lot of different states. And they're basically, it's their preparation, it's their military exercise, their preparation to deal with people once this supposed collapse happens.
All right. Who's in charge of, who's responsible for Jade Helm?
The highest seat, from my understanding, the highest seats of the military, like the highest points, and the highest points of government going up to the president.
Oh yeah? Okay. Well, apparently, I got some more information. I won't say yours is anything but correct, but I have more to add to that. The cover sheet, there was a order sheet, civil order sheet that was passed out July 1st, 2015. In that document, it stated that the military has already been set up inside the United States and is owned and controlled by the Pope, not the president. The Pope. And their job is to go around in neighborhoods. They got a machine. The machine is called Jade Helm. And that machine can shoot beams in people's houses and garages and storage places to find out if there is a storage of munitions, guns, hand grenades, pistols, all of that stuff. And every time they have one and find one, a stash, they raid the houses and kick the door in and take it away from them. I had that. I thought I sent that civil order out. But they went into everything that was acquainted with, what's it, the name of Nasara. They're even talking about that last a major executive order that Obama signed. It was called Executive Order 1604, if I'm not mistaken. And what it said was, they called it a slave labor executive order, where he was going to literally confiscate all the utilities, the utilities, the water, the food, and he would allowance it out to people who would abide by the rules that conform to the military takeover.
Wow.
And all of that's related. And all of that's related to Nasara, Jade Helm, Roman Curie, and the Pope. Because they gave them a warning in 2013, and apparently the corporations of America told them all to go to hell. They didn't do it. They paid. The first move, phase one of this so-called Jubilee, was when Obama went in office. And he had to set up what we know as the stimulus package. But what it really was, it was a giveaway by the Pope that all debts were forgiven. And those numbers.
And that's where everybody got the monies. Okay.
Yeah. And the numbers they used for the amounts of dollars coincided with the debt of each one of those banks. And they're supposed to give it away. Well, they accepted it, balanced the books, but they didn't tell the people.
Right.
And now we're back at the people didn't know, so they couldn't make notice to write my stuff off. What we should have done, since we did know it, Betty, you and I kind of discussed this, we should have been writing letters to our debtors and telling them about the Jubilee and stop fooling with us or something like that. I don't know. But since we didn't do it, and nobody was giving knowledge, because that guy I was talking to told me about a state laws that says all notices have to be acknowledged. You got to put it in writing. I don't give a damn who can see it and know it.
Right.
You got to make sure that you are aware of it. So you have to send a notice that I'm aware that you're supposed to do this and do that. As you
didn't write it, it didn't happen.
As Ray Charles would say, I know that you know that I know that you've been going out with another man. Boy, he laughing. You probably ain't heard that.
I've heard that.
We lost you again.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, dang.
There you go.
How about now?
Yep.
I must be back. Yeah.
Nope. It's on again.
Yep. Talk.
Yep. And I'm going to get that civil order out to you and you, Bev. I can send it out so y'all can see that thing. I think it's 7 pages, and it goes
Okay,
on.
because I haven't gotten an email from you in a while, so I know that you didn't send it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to that city slicker thing you got.
Oh. No, that's not the right one. But if you sent it, I'll get it. If you sent it, I'll get it. I'll just go in and
but I got the other one. I'll look at your other address and I'll send it out to that.
Okay. All right.
But that one really turned me sideways. I may have a copy with me, but I'm not sure. But I will get it and get a copy. Maybe.
What is all that static? Can you hear all that static, Andre?
No.
Well,
I hear so much static.
Andre?
You're clear now.
I'm here.
Andre?
Yeah, I'm here.
You doing some paperwork or something? We're hearing a lot of that static that you normally be putting out.
No, I'm gonna mute my microphone out. It's probably because I'm driving.
Oh, okay.
Let me rephrase that. I'm traveling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute myself out. Y'all going ahead. I'm gonna ride out. I'm gonna mute myself out here.
All right. Well, look, we're at the top of the hour. Let's take a 10-minute break, and I'm gonna look for that paperwork. And if I got it, I'm gonna read some of that in the next hour on that civil order that came out of the attorney. So,
all right.
And you want me to check and see if John Dana was an attorney?
Yes, John Baynard. See if he has a P number, or was he an attorney? All right.
All right, I'm on it.
All right. All right, Betty. We'll talk to you after break.
Okay.
We're back. Trying to check with Andre to see if he picked up that information. Okay. All right. Anyway, we're talking about Sunday coming up. We're going to have a follow-up meeting. You have to go online to buy your ticket. There's a donation online of, here we go, donation online of $20. And we will do a WebEx. Not WebEx, we're doing a pay-per-view. There will be a pay-per-view, and that will be a donation of $25. I'm going to find out from Andre how much is on the site. And we're going to go from there. Are you there, Andre?
Yep, I am here. I've almost reached my destination. And to answer your question, it will be $25 for the pay-per-view.
Okay.
To cover costs for the pay-per-view. Yep.
Then you gotta have a ticket for the to get in. You have to have a ticket.
Yeah, you have to go to the site and you have to donate and get your ticket through the website. We don't do the collect money at the door thing, so and again that helps us to get our checks and balances in and balance everything out. It's just easier that way. So you go back to the buy tickets at /lecture tickets, you can get your ticket for $20 at buytickets.at /lecture tickets. And the link, if I said it too fast, the link is at ronmarch.com. You can go on the site there and link in and grab the tickets if you go to the events page.
Okay. Do you have any info on the homepage in regards to?
No, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of as soon as I get my stuff together here.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make sure that that's up there where people can see it on the front page and link in.
Right.
Yep.
So they can get.
But if anybody that went to the seminar, they can go back to the same site where they got their tickets for the journal-based seminar and get the tickets for the follow-up seminar.
Okay. All right.
If that helps.
Yeah. I made a comment in our last meeting about the 13th, the Lost 13, whatchamajigger, amendment, and I
Yes.
just looked at it. I still have it, and so I'll get it. I'll get you a copy of it. The original
Awesome.
U.S.
I'd love to take a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good enough. All right. So, as we said earlier, we're doing Betty. Betty's going to do. Are you there, Betty? Okay. Betty's going to do.
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Okay. Betty's going to do the birth certificate and the discharge of debt. Now, Betty, tell us a little bit about that discharge of debt. We're coming out of a private process, and so go from there. There's two different ways you can do discharging debt, private or public. Now, I better ask you, which one are you going to deal with, Betty?
Actually, it's going to be on the private. I don't know outside of bankruptcy how you can discharge debt on the public side. I'm not aware of that at all, other than bankruptcy.
Right.
But on the private side, is when you. I'm sorry, I got all these children. On the private side is when you are actually just claiming your exemptions, that have been afforded to you by the fact that you have, they have used all your stuff. They created these trusts and, everything that they've done, and you are actually the creditor as opposed to the debtor, which they like to make you think otherwise, but you have credits because of the situations that they've created with the Social Security Trust and the Birth Certificate Trust. There's, credits out there that you're able to discharge your debt. I know there are a lot of people who are of the mindset that they're trying to find this money and, they want to use their money, but it's not going to come in the form of money, I don't think. Maybe, at some point somebody might find it, but it comes from the credits that, that you're, what I want to say,
accumulated?
Yeah. Through the, because they trade your birth certificate on Wall Street, and all these credits are, stored away in the trust that they've created. So there's a lot of credits, for us to use, and we just are just getting to the point where we know what to do, at least some of us. There are others who have been discharging for years, but, those people don't want to tell you, what to do. And so I thank God for Jonah Bay, But, that's in essence, what's happening.
Okay. Now, you can do it with a bond, or you can do it with a throw this out. I haven't heard you say it, but that 1099 can be used OID. The guy was telling me about it today. I got to find out who this guy is, but he was very informative, and he gave me some information.
I know people that have gotten checks from the OID process, and I also know people who went to jail for it. So I don't have enough information about it to be able to even speak about it.
Yeah. That's been my holdback when it's not perfected, and you hear the rumors that people go to jail for doing certain things. You got to be careful when you start going into some of these areas. But there's information on the public side, and I give private classes on that public discharging debt, and it has worked. I have used it myself. It definitely
I'm not
worked.
understanding what you mean on the public.
No, I'm not challenging. Nope. Don't get me wrong.
No.
No,
I'm saying, how is that public? You're talking about except for value?
Yes.
That ain't public.
What is it?
That ain't public. That's private.
How is that private? Or better yet,
because
how is it? Explain it. Then explain except for value to me.
You're taking your Social Security number and you're using your exemption to discharge. That is not public. Everybody can't do that. Everybody can't do that. I mean, except for value, bonds, bills of exchange, checks, that we create.
Betty, you're taking it to another level. I'm talking about just a simple stamp on your presentment that you are accepting it for value. Sign your name and date it and send it back.
But that's still not public, though. That ain't public. People, if it were, what I see as public is something that they promote that we can use. They will never promote that you can use except for value, because as a matter of fact, they try to scare you on the IRS website when they talk about, or is it the Treasury? One of the two. They talk about the local and federal courts have said that you can't use except for value. It's not lawful, but people do it all the time. But trust me, it is not public. It is that's on the private side. That is not on the public side.
Well, you say that, and then let's say you believe that I have used except for value, and it has worked for me, and I did not have my birth certificate in place, except those processes where you use your birth certificate as makes it private. That's what puts it on the private.
You can discharge. You can discharge your debt using Jonas process without having your birth certificate authenticated. It just works a little harder.
Yes, and that is because it's public. That's why it takes longer, or they don't accept it. That's what I was told. Now, what you're telling me now is all the times that I've used it and it worked, they just took it because they wanted to take it. So I'll accept that if that's what you're saying. But I've always known it to be public, and I've always known it to be a legal process. I got plenty of information on except for value as being legal process. I thought private was when you begin to use your private account to write off your bills. When you say public, they use your private account to write it off. They're supposed to. It all should be public, but since they are dogs that they are, they act like they don't know what you're talking about. Period. So they use your private account as you do with the private process of using your own private account, which you personally make it private because you use your social bond number and your routing number and all the things that makes it your information you use. But when you tell them publicly to accept this for value, they can accept it for value if they wish to. Period.
Well, that's what the check as well.
Sometimes it don't.
Well, that's what the discharge of the checks as well. That's why they recommend that you send it 3 times because it may not work the first time.
Well, I now on that level that has not worked. They have always answered one way or the other. For example, the latest answer that I have heard about and saw myself was you didn't put the routing number on it. They didn't. The persons that did it did not use a routing number because they was under the impression that you couldn't use a routing number on it because of the different teachings of it. Okay?
Right.
But I was told, and I'm going to use the routing number because it's all a private process. And the routing number belongs to my account. That Siskiyou account is my account. And that's where all the money lies for every individual, the Siskiyou account. It don't go someplace else. So how can it by its own self change from public to private? When you use the private process, know what that is, then they have to go in your account. And if they don't, you can either sue them or first you should use the administrative process by doing it 3 times. But then you're paying for it 3 times because they never send you the check back.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right. But even with your process, though, Ron, they still go into your Siskiyou account to get those credits.
I just said that. I know they do, but they do it on their own, and they know how to do it. That's what makes it public, because they go in it to do it. The public goes in it. The the crooks, the so-called creditors, go into your account and take that money out. And that's why you have to sign it and date it, because you're giving them permission to go in there and get it. Now, that's what I've been taught, and that's what I do. And I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found that the bond, and I was told, I won't even mention that again, but the check process, which is the bond process, it works better and it's clearer as to what you do, because you're doing a legal private process of now that you are a private person, because you have perfected your birth certificate. You can use your own, because you're still liable for the straw man. You know that. But you're still liable for your birth certificate straw man, although you are separating yourself from it and you'll be taking up responsibility for it, because the United States does not give you any other program to feed yourself other than through the straw man.
Well, let me ask you this: what would you call the process of somebody who had not authenticated their birth certificate but submitted a check on a private check to somebody and they accepted it? What would you call that?
Well, I would call that breaking the law, or the people that accepted it didn't know what they were doing. Because I've seen more people not get accepted without the birth certificate than I have with the birth certificate. If that makes sense. And so I don't even really want to challenge what they will do and won't do, because I'm happy whatever they do as long as they take the money.
For sure.
But if they turned around and came after that person and said that they were not qualified to do that because they are tramping, see, the bottom, here's a good answer. A slave cannot declare himself free. So no slave can write his own check to get free. Now, I'll leave it right there. I'll put that on the table. I won't leave it. I'll put that right on the table. Now, if the persons you sent it to didn't know and they processed it, oh, you were lucky. That's good, But if you become if you become, private, but I want to say birth certificate, you want to authenticate your birth certificate, you are no longer a slave.
Right.
No longer a slave. So that means that you can do whatever you want to do, because now that you are sovereign, you only can break two laws, and that's murder and destroying property. And you surely didn't kill anybody, and the property that they claim you're going to destroy is your own property, because you already paid for it when you wrote the original promissory note and or signed for it. And another thing, while we're into this, it's not the laws that protect you, because laws change every 15 minutes, and it's not the information that you get from these different programs and these different DVDs and all that. I believe truly it's the argument that you create that wins your victory. That's where your victory comes from, because they're going to challenge you no matter what you do. And if you don't have an argument to back up what you're doing, you're going to lose. I don't give a damn what you do, quote unquote.
That's right.
Correct. I don't care what you do. You can follow the Bible step by step. And once you're questioned up about it, which means you're challenged, and you can't give a decent answer or an answer that's going to be challenged, you got a problem.
Yes, I agree.
You agree with that?
I do. I agree with that.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's so important for everybody to study on their own. I know a lot of.
I think that's why you are as far as you are in your information, and I'm not going in your affairs, because you have so much knowledge of, and you can create legal arguments on the basis of it. And the more you learn, the more solid your arguments are. And we know that the judges and lawyers are idiots. They're only told so much. So if you can lay down an argument to back up your position, you ain't gonna be in nobody's trouble. You're gonna win that case. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I guess.
Once you start that that's why I say, we give out all this information, somebody runs out there and does this and does that, and it don't work. Here they come calling. Well, you told me to. No, I ain't told you to do a damn thing. And I want everybody to understand that, because you got to study and you need to know. Bobby L. always said that. He taught the same thing day in and day out. One subject, day in and day out. Well, he always teaches the same thing. So you need to learn. That's why he does it. You dig? You agree with that, Andre?
Yeah.
Or no? You might be gone. Yep, you must be. All right. But anyway, that's what. I wouldn't even discuss that with you anymore on the basis of whatever works. And you better be prepared to back up what you do, no matter what you do. Now, you got to agree with that. You know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I'd like to draw the line, and I want to work in the private sector. I do those things that I know is working, because if it don't work, I'm ready to take them to court. Now, I'd be a fool to take somebody to court on an issue I don't know anything about. I'm going to really get in trouble.
Right.
And that, and one of those positions that I really love to talk about, and that is that secured interest. I don't know where I got it from, but I'm not ever going to turn it loose. Because once you realize what the secured interest is and you nullify the secured interest, you are free. You are completely free. And if you do it with your birth certificate, that you've done your birth certificate right, you are on your way to freedom and all the riches. Because now you understand that everything they've taken from you, they got to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that gentleman was saying today, that you can use a 1098 OID to make them give it back to you. All the way back to he gave me a time frame that I didn't really understand, but I was listening and trying to get it. And
maybe 10 years. Did he say something about 10 years?
He mentioned 16 years, and I couldn't figure out why 16. And he gave me a reason that. Oh yeah, he did a lot of talking about canon law.
Yeah.
And here's something else that you should know, Betty, and that is legally we're not allowed to use MCLs to prove a case, or even case law to prove it, because all of
that's their statute.
Yes, and that makes a lot of sense. That's their statute.
Sure.
And our laws came before the Supreme Court. We were here on this land before they set up the Supreme Court. So our law, our supreme law, has to be the creator, common law. And when they do, because he showed me some information, Betty, from Westlaw.
Westlaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Westlaw.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some information in there that we all should know about. But we can't use it because they only teach it to attorneys.
Oh.
Now, think about that for a minute. Here you are fighting for freedom with your information on paralegal stuff, and everybody looking at you laughing because they on another page and you on the page that you know about, and they got something to back up what they're doing on the other side. What kind of mess is that?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of that? And that's what, and that opens up a lot of knowledge, because we always complain, the white man, they always want to change, courts change the law. Every time you learn the law, they change it. No, they don't. Every time you learn the law that they're using, or the law they present to you, they stay with the original law. They're not that smart to be able to change the law. You can't change the law.
Right.
But MCLs, statutes, LexisNexis, what is that? Lexus? All of those are nothing more than, what can you call them? They're not laws. They're just bullshit. But they put your money in
Statutes.
Yeah. Statutes. Yep, statutes, LexisNexis, MCLs, case laws, all the things they use only to keep them in a framework of Black Law's dictionary, but you and the knowledge that you have to learn is above and beyond Black Law's dictionary. But you're coming from common
Yeah, those
law.
are just like color of law. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I never did know what that LexisNexis was. And you see it all the time. What would you say it would be, Betty? What would be your definition of, and I call it LexisNexis, but you know what I'm talking about. What is?
Yeah, well,
that?
it's just a program that you can go into to find certain statutes, case law, anything that you would use that we ain't really supposed to use being private citizens, since statutes and all those things belong to them. But all that, it makes it easy for you to find these things just by typing in the keyword, that type of stuff. It's just a program.
I was privy to it, and I was privy to it when I was at Wayne State. I was able to get in.
So what do you have to do?
For the law class I had.
You have to pay to use it?
Yeah, well, you can use it at the Wayne State Law Library without paying.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, like most of these attorneys, they subscribe to it and they pay a monthly bill to. Because what did we have at that time, Ron? Didn't we have Westlaw?
We had Westlaw.
LexisNexis is just like Westlaw. LexisNexis is just like Westlaw. It's just a different brand.
Yep, and Okay. And like I said, they can stop you from using that. You don't want to take that in court to prove your argument, because the judge will tell you you're not allowed to use it because you're not an attorney. You don't belong to that private club or that private fraternal order. That's deep. And that's what Jonah be talking about all the time when he says he doesn't use the structure of the black laws, or not black laws, but
he say he don't use he don't use their statutes. That's what he say. I don't use their statutes. I don't use their codes. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. And that's the reason, because number one, he's not supposed to, and number two, they're not laws and statutes. I mean, they're not laws anyway. They're not laws anyway.
That apply to us. Now, it may apply to some folks, but it don't apply to us.
Our entire status changes when you become free of your birth certificate. You become a different individual, and once you put people on notice, they have to deal with you in a different way. You follow me on that?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Because I told you about the IRS, and I just did some things. I want to put everybody that knows me on notice that I am the majority. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I am the majority, and that makes a difference. Just like them Jews, once they turn 18, they are the majority, and they live in it. That's something that we got to learn how to do. We don't know how to live free. We still get nervous when we hear a police car coming. And the cop will get out and tell you to keep moving. You can't tell me to keep moving. I pay your salary. You don't pay mine.
Right.
You dig? And why are you here? Are you a revenue officer or are you an enforcement officer? You don't have any enforcement officer. You dig? If you're an enforcement officer, show me your credentials and your P number and your delegation of authority that you have a right to do this and do that. Or if you're a revenue officer, I'm gonna call the police on your head. But you're getting ready to stick me up.
Mm-hmm.
You dig? Because if I'm a creditor, I cannot be a debtor. And every time you give me a ticket, I've already paid your salary. I bought that police car. The uniform was given to you from the police department. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. So what are you doing taking my money and giving me a ticket? So he breaks the law every time he confronts you. He's playing with dynamite when he confronts you. That's why they act the way they do, which is very violent, very rough, very arrogant, so that if they make a mistake, you will make a mistake, and then they can charge you with a physical crime rather than the original, why did you stop me type.
Right.
Why am I here? You dig? I had a ticket. I had a big crisis back in the day, and they charged me with obstructing traffic and resisting arrest. All the negatives. They had about two years plus a whole lot of stuff to put on me. And come to find out, Ken Cockrell asked one question, and that is, the question was, why was he a pedestrian? You can't be obstruction. He was a passenger in a vehicle. Now, explain to the court. That's what he told the cops or the prosecutor. Explain to the courts how he became a violent or a violation of these laws if riding in the backseat. And when the prosecutor said, they told him to get out, he didn't let Snickers, and the judge interrupted, try to get around. Cockrell kept saying, you had no program, Judge. Sit there and listen. So they couldn't prove that I was obstructing traffic because they made me be a pedestrian. And then they're going to say that I was obstructing traffic because when they told me to get out of the car, I stood in the middle of the street. And they said, move. I said, I'm not moving because y'all might shoot me. That was back in the day when I was and I mean, it was really a mess. And
wow.
And they took us to jail, and I told the neighborhood to come down there because they all was on the porches, and we all stood in the street with our hands over our heads like prisoners of war. They told us to put our hands down, and we kept telling them, we're scared because if we move, you're gonna shoot. Oh, it was a scene. And anyway, they dropped all the charges. Everybody got charges dropped, but it was an ordeal, and I'll never forget it because they tried to not torture me, but they tried to intimidate me while I was in the slam, sign off a whole lot of crazy stuff. But it's very, very important to know all that, and I just brought that up because I thought about it. But anyway,
wow.
We're going to get this thing rolling on Sunday at 9 o'clock. Everybody be on time. And you got to go to the website and buy your tickets. And if you're going to look at it on the DVD, not DVD, the whatchamajigger thingamabob. If you're going to do it on the
pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view. Yep. You need to go online and purchase it. And we won't guarantee that it'll be better, but we've already talked to Comcast. Comcast will be prepared this time.
We lost you again.
Oh, boy. Ron, are you there? While we're waiting for Ron to come back, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight and tell the listeners about?
Well, outside of, them coming down and, let's do a follow-up and let's get this thing moving. Let's, set everybody family free. There's just so much to gain when you authenticate your birth certificate. It is so important, and I have personal, firsthand knowledge of how important it has become in my life. And, we just want everybody to, to come up. If you have any questions, if you're not clear on anything, if you need to know what the next step is going to be, if you need some direction on, what you're going to address, the injunction, come on out, and let's move forward with this information.
Absolutely, I agree. All these things are vital. They're important. And everybody come prepared. We're going to be timely with this. We're going to try not to go over, but if we do, we do. But we're going to try to keep this thing timely and, make sure everybody's able to, benefit from this gathering. And let's make this, something that that we can grow from, like Ron said earlier. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
I think it's important that if you have questions, that you write them down. That way you won't forget. Because if you're like me and you kind of on the senior side of things, something may be important today, and then tomorrow it's gone. But, write everything down, write all your questions, and we will make sure that, before you leave, all of your questions that you have pertaining to the subjects that we're going to address are answered.
And that's important, pertaining to the subjects we're going to address. If you got a deeper issue, then I'm going to urge any and everybody to make sure that you get a consultation with Ron.
Right.
Are you offering? Oh, are you back, Ron?
Yes. My card was in for the battery, but it wasn't plugged together, and before I could catch it, it went out. So I had to go all the way back, start all over. Plus, I went to my telephone. I heard everything you were saying, and the telephone is clear as a bell. Andre, we need some IT on this. Find out why. When I get online like I am now, we break up. But I called in on the telephone, and I heard everything, and there was an echo because we had two mics open, and I closed the telephone, and everything went back to normal. So we got to get you over here.
I'll have to come. I have to cruise by and see what we can do to kind of rectify that situation.
Yep. And see, now you're chopping. The conversation is choppy from you. All right. Well, anyway, Bev, you was Betty, you was ended up kind of explaining everything that we're going to do Saturday. Do you want to continue? Was there anything you left out?
I don't think there's anything I left out. I was just encouraging the people to come out and, get all their questions answered, get some directions on, where to go next and, how to make this thing happen for them.
Yep. And I heard Andre say that we may go over some couple of minutes, maybe a half hour, maybe an hour. But we want to make sure everybody understands what their roles are, and we want to get into some of their particular problems. And we definitely want to push the birth certificate because everything comes much more natural, easier, and much, you get more out of it if you got your birth certificate in place. Yep.
Yep. So I think it goes back to what you said. What's the next step? We want to get everybody acclimated to, what they should be doing next. That's the most important thing. Yep. So nobody's stuck. Everybody has a good understanding of where they need to, where they can go.
Where they are and where they stand. Right. Okay. Now,
and I kind of
go ahead, Betty.
And I was just going to ask you a question about how much feedback have you gotten from people that had attended the conference?
The first week, 10 days, I got quite a bit, but then I was out of town for that Labor Day, whatever that week holiday was.
Right.
And then everything began to slow down quite a bit. Most of the questions are personal questions.
Oh, okay, personal situations.
We didn't cover in that. But I want people to understand most of the personal problems will be resolved if you got your birth certificate in place. And you have acknowledged those crooks or those presenters that you have a birth. You are the majority now. You're not the debtor anymore. I'm telling you, it's a whole new world. You dig? It's a whole new world. And I do have people still calling, trying to ask questions that we did cover on the birth certificate. So you may get some people like that, Betty, that, I don't know what their problem is. It's on the internet. It's on my website. We've discussed it. We've had seminars. People calling, wanting to know which one of them should I get, how I should answer the questions, stuff like that. So I don't know how we're going to pound it in them other than doing it every chance we get. We got to go over it and over it again and again and again to let people know, what to do.
Right.
I can really not feel sorry, but I can really understand Bobby. Bobby L. used to sit down there on that stool, and every night he was putting in the same information. Unless you ask questions, then he would take you through it. But there's a need for that. People are very, Ignorant.
Well, see, the thing is, things don't change, and the information that Bobby had, it is what it is. So it didn't change. It's just the everybody just got to understand it. You know, because people say, well, why are you talking about the same thing all the time? Because it don't change. This is it.
Yep.
If you learn this, you'll be a million miles ahead of the pack. If you learn this, and we are noticing, I know I'm noticing that as much as I be talking, and you guys are the same way, as much as you give out that information, you still get people calling asking you the fundamentals. You know, I got a guy that calls me almost every week with a question about the birth certificate, and every week I tell him the same thing. Go to the website. So now when he calls, I just hang up. I say, brother, I'm not talking to you. I done told you. Because what you're asking is stupid questions. You don't even go to the website to read what I told you. You know, maybe I'll tell him next time, can you read? And if he say yes, then I'm going to really hang up. But if he say no, I'll lighten up on him a little bit and try to help him out.
What I think a lot of it is a lot of people want us to do the work for them. This is not work that we can do for them. Yeah, and you have to do the work on your own. You have to study. You have to know what you're doing, or it's not going to work for you. Simple as that.
Totally correct.
And and also, Ron, I forgot to mention, I added on our events page on Ron March, there's actually a button where you can buy the tickets right from your website. I meant to mention that to you. If you go to ronmarch.com and click on the events tab, bulletin board events tab, and you look at the first entry up under there, there's actually a little widget that allows you to buy the tickets for the event right there. To do the donation. So, I just wanted to add that in as well.
Yep. I'm going to go home tonight and look at maybe not tonight, but definitely in the morning. I will look at the website, and I'm going to see what they having see if they're having a problem with something that's relative. You dig?
Yeah.
So they call and make up stuff. I said, I know it ain't that complicated. And I tell them exactly where to go.
No, it's the same process as it was before. The only difference is instead of it taking you to another site, you can do it right within Ron March. You can grab your ticket for the event right within your site. So it's a little payment widget that pops up. And
you know what? You just reminded me of something. If you're going to do with someone else, I don't think I'm upset about it. I want you to get free. But you can't bring me that other person's stuff and ask me to make it work. But I don't know what the hell that other people's stuff is. And I would definitely not try and inject Ron March into their stuff. You dig? So if I give you a process, I know how to take you from A to Z. Now, that's it. Now, don't come and listen to Jay and then go somewhere else and tell them what you learned from Ron March from A to J, and he didn't say that it was that way. What the hell I care? But I say, well, where would you get something like that? A guy called me and told me a lot of stuff. I said, well, where would you get it? I was listening to another DVD. Go back and listen to that DVD or call that person and ask them. I can't answer that question for you because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He was trying to change.
And it's really unfair.
Trying to mix processes.
It's really unfair to us. That is unfair to us to ask us to make a determination on somebody else's work when we have not even used the process. We don't know. We would just be speculating, and so the only thing we can really speak about is what was said and presented at the conference. Anything outside of that, any additional information you may have, you have to do your own personal research on that and see if it works for you. Because we can't entertain that. We just can't.
Yep.
Especially if we have never used it.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
So when you mix two different processes, that's a recipe for disaster. You don't. I'm hearing a lot of people that are trying to do that, mix processes. Well, this person said this, and I'm gonna do a little bit of this, and That's
We're
not
going
good.
to get in trouble. Every time there's going to be a problem. And I don't need to pick up somebody else's drama and try and straighten it out. That's ridiculous. For me, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we gotta play fair. We gotta play, but we gotta play fair. You know, you can't expect us to do certain things that, you know, it's just totally impossible. You know, so when I pick up on it, I jump on them right away. I say, "Ooh, wait a minute, you got that from who? Oh, well then go back and ask them." Now they're gonna give me a song and dance to try to stay on target. I said, "Well, no. If you're gonna keep thinking about what they did, then I'm wasting my time." You know.
But you know, Ron, you have so much patience for all that. I don't have the patience like that. I don't have that kind of patience. I ain't dealing with it. I don't care who feeling I hurt. I ain't dealing with it. Don't ask me.
Well, I tell you one thing, Betty. If I don't learn how to deal with it, I'm gonna be in trouble. 'Cause it's not helping me and my health at all to take on all this.
I understand that. I see it.
And it's over and over. And then they got nerve to tell me, for example, that I treated that lady bad at the seminar, and I was.
They have no idea what you have gone through with Miss Burrell over the years. They have no idea. So whoever had an opinion about that, they need to stuff it because they don't know. They don't know Miss Burrell. They ain't never seen her before. We've been dealing with that woman for years.
Yep.
And she's always rude and obnoxious, and you know, and I don't know. And I don't know.
Yep. I think she got all pretty nice, to tell you the truth.
I do too.
Yep. 'Cause, you know,
I do too.
I thought she was finished when I got her the first time and told her that, you know, we're not going to tolerate this. So if you keep running your mouth, I'm going to give you your money back, and you're going to get the hell out of here.
Absolutely.
That really
I wouldn't even dealt with it. I would have offered that if it had been me. You know, because I told you go get her. Because I don't have the patience for it. Let me give you your money and I'll escort you to the door.
You know, Jonah's still talking. You know, Jonah's still talking about her.
He does. He does.
It's hard to find a person like that.
Gangsta grandma.
Betty called her obnoxious. That's very good. It's hard to find someone like that. That's really
I know.
Yeah, she really wanted to tell us at the end of her revelations of what she had felt, as if somebody really cared. You know, we all get revelations, ladies. We all try to learn. But I want to tell mine. You know, like she was in a church and wanted to have confession or something. Oh man.
But again, we all got a lot to learn on how to not only deal with commerce, but just common sense stuff. It's a time for everything. And, you know, it's a time and a place and a season for everything. And that just was not the time and the place for, that disruption. That was very disruptive.
Yep. But Andre, Ms. Burrell that's her. And we've been dealing with her for many, many years. Many years.
And everywhere she goes, she shows out just like that. And the bank, she was dealing with was it Core America? Not Core America. Bank of America. Okay. And they barred her out all the branches. Closed her account and told her don't come back. I swear.
Now what that tell you? What that tell you?
Now, what does that tell you? That's right. What the hell does that tell you?
They locked the door when she walked up, huh?
Yes. Gave her $10 in her savings and $40 in her checking account. Said, now get the hell out of here and don't come back.
Wow.
Now that's a lot.
Wow.
And she just shows out everywhere she goes. She done been to Egypt. She's been around the world. All of that out of body experience, so she says. And she's done seen Jesus, and she done did this and all kind of stuff.
Did she get kicked out of Egypt? Did they kick her out of Egypt?
That's a good question. A good question. I don't know. But if they get to know her, they're gonna kick her out. That chick got to go, man. But anyway, that kind of stuff bothers me. And Betty's right. I take on too much, and I don't know. It's my heart. I what they say, take the drama to your mama. I got to use that more often. You got to take that drama somewhere else. because I can't do
Yeah,
it.
save the drama for your mama.
Yeah, and it's not good for your health. And I'm learning that. Learning it's a hard
energy.
All right. So we're at the top of the hour, and we're going to be on tomorrow with Beverly D. And I want to tomorrow I will have that paperwork, Andre, on the whatchamajigger, on the Pope in regards to you know what I'm trying to say, the civil order that was given from the attorneys of the Roman Curia. I'm going to take care of that. So we'll
look
know.
Forward to that.
We'll all know what's going on, and that's what I'm going to talk with Betty, with her about tomorrow. And we'll talk again on the upcoming seminar tomorrow. Okay. So if you can tune in, Beverly, Betty, or Andre, I would appreciate it. We can go from there. Okay.
Well, what time is that show? What time is that show? What time?
Oh, 6 o'clock.
What time?
I'm sorry. Yeah, 6 p.m. tomorrow, 6 to 8. 6:30.
Eastern time.
Yeah, I'm getting
what
old.
Is it?
Shotgun done got me. Shotgun. 6:30 tomorrow.
6:30. Okay.
6:30 p.m. the simulcast. Yes, CD. All right. Help support and input, and on to things. Okay.
All right.